Hogong, who appears as an aide to Baekchon, the founder of Silla dynasty, is this person. A man named Hogong has an unknown family and surname. He was originally a Japanese. He was called Hogong because he first crossed the sea with a gourd on his waist. If Hogong came from Japan, how could an ordinary person cross that long sea route on a gourd? Is he the Papillon? A long time ago, Mr. Joe Orion, who was called the Seal of Asia, barely swam to Tsushima Island while being escorted inside a wire fence. It is said that Joe Orion's tongue was split when he arrived at Tsushima Island. That means it was that difficult. But how did a middle-aged man named Hogong cross the rough sea? Hogong is not a Japanese from the Japanese archipelago, but a Japanese from the Yongsan River basin. He was a Korean man. If Hogong is a real person, how can the Japanese have close political dialogue with Baekchon, the king of Silla? Even now, when Korean and Japanese meet, there is no way to converse except in English. At that time, there were no foreign language universities in either Korea or Japan. Oh, please, I don't even want to imagine Japanese people's English. Some of them are good, but basically, maybe Hogong was burdened by the Yongsan River Way, a fellow tribesman who invaded Silla's border from time to time. So he might have tried hard to cover it up by saying that he came from Japan across the sea. In any case, the Hogong family did their duty as Silla's subject from a generation to generation. Have you heard of Zhan, Zhen, Ji, Xing, Wu, appearing in the Chinese history book of Sun Shu in the 5th century? No matter how hard you try to wrap your head around who the mysterious 5 kings of the Yamato way are, you still don't know, right? This is in my opinion. They are the chiefs of the Yongsan River Way. Their main occupation is trading, but their side occupation is piracy. No wonder they don't come out when you try to find them in your country. Each of the 5 pirates had their own nicknames. Beggar King, Chan, Bluffing King, Zhen, Bullying King, Ji, Blackmail King, Xing, Slicker, Wu. It is the appearance of mysterious 5 way kings that these people secretly sent guests to China to offer various gifts to act as kings of Korean Peninsula. They have not been treated as human beings on the Korean Peninsula. Did you see the long title they bribed to the Song dynasty? The king of Yamato were Kudara, Silla, Imna, Jinhan, Mohan, and the great general of East Side, blah blah blah. It means they were king of 6 countries. 1 country king is not easy. How can be 6 countries king? Basically, scammers have long business card. If someone's business card has all kind of jobs titles enlisted, they are 100% of scammer. My visiting card is very simple. Novelist Shinjin. That's all. The Yongsan River Way, which has a lot of talk and a lot of trouble, marks a big milestone in the history of Northeast Asia. They informed the Gaya royal family, who had been struggling to settle down the narrow Korea Peninsula, that there was a large land without an owner across the sea. The 7 princes who had attained enlightenment by converting to Buddhism and at an early age left behind their mother's honest dissuasion and crossed the sea to spread Buddhism to an unknown land. The first place they anchored was Kagoshima, southern Kyushu. The first country those Gaya princes founded was Kumaso. But when recording the history of East Asia, sometimes grumpy Chinese officers delivered it the Gounugo. Gounugo means, Gou means dog, Nu means slave. So it means dog slave country. It's impossible, you know. Who can make their country's name like this? Only Chinese can do. The tombs of the Yongsan River where chiefs were unusually created with the unique keyhole-shaped tumulus, which means that the sky is round and the ground are angular. However, ignorant Japanese call it Jeonbang Wonbun, which means that the sky is square and the feet is round. And it has been handed down to this day. No matter how ignorant you are, don't you know the difference between the head and the sole of your feet? Anyway, even if we search all over the world, we can't find such a unique tomb style except around the Yongsan River in Korea and old Japan. Let's take a look at Japan's oldest history book. The Kojiki Ninigi no Mikoto first came down from the Takamagahara to Kuji Furutake in Takachio. The heavenly god Ninigi no Mikoto said this land faces Karakuni and there is an old original road to the Cape Gagasa. So it is a country where the morning sun shines well and the sunset shines well. Therefore, he said, this is a very good land. He built a place there and opened the country. By the way, why did Karakuni come out of the Japanese god mouth here? Karakuni referred to here is Gaya. Gaya and Kara same actually. This means that Ninigi no Mikoto is King Gimsuro, the founder of Geumgwan Gaya. This is why you call Korea Gangoku now. Now, would you say that the Japanese royal family is not of the lineage of Geumgwan Gaya? In 532, Geumgwan Gaya has the home country of the Yamato Japanese disappeared from the stage of history, and in 660, even Baekje, Kudara, their maternal family collapsed. In 663, even the revival Baekje, which had been a glimmer of hope, collapsed. At this time, Yamato were decided to break away from the Korean peninsula and created a new country, and Japan was born. Japan, which renewed its face, immediately entered compilation of national history. Now, let me tell you the origin of the country's name, Japan. Once upon a time, there was a country called Gojoseon in northern Manchuria. Gojoseon is our first country. Have you heard of Hongsan civilization? The original name of Gojoseon was Asadal. Asadal is the land of the rising sun. The Chinese paraphrased Asadal as Chaoxian. The Yamato dynasty retranslated Joseon into Japan, Nippon. The Yamato dynasty also descendant of Asadal if you go back. Do you understand now? You are one of us. Asadal, Joseon, and Japan are all the same meaning. You have stolen the country of our ancestors, but don't worry too much. I am the only one who knows this. And I am a powerless person, so I can hold legally responsible. How fortunate are you? You are honored to be listening to my lecture. If you have a conscience, you must bow down to me. Anyway, the wonderful name of Nippon relieved the inferiority complex in one fell swoop. The word Japan is publicized through the Taika reform, Daehwa Geishin, and officially appeared in the history books with the compilation of the Nihon Shoki 720 during the Nara period. Look at the title of state books sent by the Tang Dynasty in Yamato, where it is 大皇皇帝经文欧王书, a letter from the emperor of the Tang Dynasty to the king of Wei. As you can see, even in 682, China still called Japan Wo. You really shit. What kind of Imna Japan headquarters existed in 4th century when the word Japan itself did not exist? Back then, you were in the Bronze Age, and Gaya had iron cavalry guarding the borders. Lying is less likely to be criticized if it makes sense. According to the Chinese record, there were no cows or horses in Japan at that time. Nihon Shoki is a fantasy novel that has no Japanese stories, but only Korean, especially Kudara stories. I'm a novelist, don't I know that? All the pleasurable beasts here and there are brought together and put together, so they are jumbled together, and the dates don't match, and the front and the backs don't match. So it's so complicated that you don't even know what it is. To be honest, no matter how much Japanese people read, you don't know what the writings are about. Change the main subject, main character of Nihon Shoki to Korean instead of Japanese, and you will understand. I understand that you guys forced the year by 1,000 years to lengthen Japanese history. As a result, there are many emperors who lived for more than 100 years. There were where the position of king remained vacant for several years until the previous king died and next king took over. There is no case like this in the history of any other country. You all know that throne cannot be empty even for a moment, 1 week at most. The orgasm of Japanese history manipulation is the Queen Jingu, a fictional character, not a real person. Jingu's actual model is Himiko, the queen of Yamato kingdom. This was also acknowledged by Japanese scholars. It is included the Wei Zhu Chuan of China and Adala Isagam, the section of Silabongi of Korea. However, Himiko appears in Chinese and Korean historical books, but she does not actually appear in Nihon Shoki. There is no way that the compilers of Nihon Shoki did not know that they had opened the Chinese history books and pieced together Nihon Shoki. The problem is that Himiko was shrine maiden of Gaya royal family, and she was a woman and a shrine maiden. Why didn't the compilers have concerns while debating whether to include it in the book or not? They created a fictitious character called the Queen Jingu and substituted it for Himiko. According to the Nihon Shoki, in the year 47 year of Jingu reign, in order to occupy the Korean peninsula, the Jingu blocked with a flat boulder and set out a rough sea while relating on a wooden boat to occupy Korean peninsula. What kind of bullshit is this? Does this make sense? It is not easy for a strong man to embark on a rough sea road in a wooden boat. What about pregnant women? Can you block the womb with a flat boulder and move? Is it possible? You large bastards. If Jingu were a real person, would she block the womb with a flat boulder and go on an overseas expedition instead of giving to a child and going on an expedition with a light body? Even now, full-term Japanese pregnant women can block her womb and with a flat boulder and come to Korea on a wooden boat. Since Jingu itself is fake, all the magic she performed on the Korean peninsula is also fake, not worth mentioning anymore. However, the life of Himiko, the model of Jingu, is detailed in Chinese historical record. It is written that Himiko died in 247 and that there were about 100 slaves who died. Burial custom of slaves belonged to Gaya. Himiko is royal family of Geumgwan Gaya. The problem is that King Gonchogo of Baekje, who is said to have knelt before Queen Jingu, died in 375. The records of Korean Samguk Sagi are accurate. Here there is a difference about 120 years between the birth and death of Himiko and King Gonchogo. A dilemma arises here. When they try to save Jingu, the era doesn't match. So what they created, the 이주 가민상. 이주 가민상 means 니슈 고희 기회. Interpreting his story by pulling it back 120 years. You have brought it up by 1,000 years, so it would be a piece of cake to bring it down by 120 years. すみません、ちょっと待ってください。One jugab is 60 years. Two jugab is 120 years. Shit, actually, is correct or not correct, but there was some small mistake. Oh shit, how embarrassing. Sometimes it goes up by 1,000 years. Sometimes it goes down 120 years. Is there such a case in any country in the world? The level of Kudara and Yamato was honestly compared to that of Belgium and Australia. I don't think Baekje Kudara is the level of England or France or Germany, but Baekje is definitely on the level of Belgium or Luxembourg, which are cultural powerhouse. On the other hand, Yamato has a large country and a large population, but it was definitely on the level of Australia. Now, the two countries had a special relationship, and if a wonderful valuables of unknown origin was found in the basement of Australia Museum, who would have given it to whom? Nihonshoki should be interpreted in reverse to see the correct answer. It wasn't Yamato that ruled Gaya. It was Gaya that ruled Yamato. The Thanksgiving ancestral rites hosted by Japanese royal family are held in the Korean Gyeongsangdo language. It is clear proof that the Japanese royal family speaks Gaya language. The Imna Japanese theory is the same as the Japanese kings who were in the office at the time, enjoyed Major League Baseball and eating Chicago hot dog and Napolitan pizza. Say something that makes sense. Why don't you say the American Hawaii and the Tahiti in the South Pacific were also ruled by Japan as colonies? Lies must be back and forth. At that time, your island nation was in the Bronze Age, except for the royal family and the upper classes. Commoners, both men and women, went barefoot and did not wear pants. Shall we talk about China for a moment? For about 370 years, until the fall of later Han Dynasty and the reunification of China by the Sui Dynasty, China went through a period of great turmoil called Wei Jin Nanbei Chao. The Southern dynasty are Song, Sung, Ji, Liang, Jin. Among them, the Liang dynasty left behind a rare work called Liang Zhi Gong Tu. It's a painting that palace officers drew of envoys from various countries, of course. In the painting, there are images of envoys from Goguryeo, Kudara, and Silla, our ancestors, as well as images of envoys from Yamato. And you will, Japanese, will faint when you see your ancestors. While our ancestors wore uniformly neat and dignified in their clothing, you Japanese envoys from Yamato are almost primitive people. What the most shocking is that they are barefoot, not wearing shoes. If a country envoy is barefoot, the general people doesn't have to say anything. On that topic, does it making sense that you ruled the southern part of Korean peninsula as a colony from the 4th to 6th centuries? Baekje fell in 660 AD, and 3 years later, in 663, there was a final battle at the Baekchon River in Baekje. At that time, Yamato had dispatched 30,000 soldiers and 1,000 battleships. It took 3 full years to prepare for the war. On the other hand, the allied forces of Silla and Tang only had 300 battleships. In the battles of Baekchon River, where Kudara's last lifeline was at stake, combined forces of Wei and Baekje were defeated by the combined forces of Silla and Tang, which seemed inferior despite their overwhelming superiority in power. God chose Silla. The castle of Zhouliucheng has fallen, and things are out of control. The name of Baekje has been cut off today. When will I be able to go back to the place where my ancestors' graves are? It is written in Nihon Shoki volume 27 and the second year of Chenji, Tianzhi, AD 663. By the way, why did the Yamato royal family try to save Baekje with all their might? Are you curious? Because Kudara is their mother's family. Do you understand now? Sending troops overseas is that not easy. Even now, if we want to send troops overseas, we have to go through complicated procedures. First, the consent of the cabinet must be obtained, and then public support must be sought, and public opinion trends must be observed. Even if you have gone through all the cumbersome procedures, you have to collect military funds, because overseas diplomats cost a lot of money. You can't go world without money. Soldiers are a group that feeds morale. To cross sea, we need to build a boat. But it's not so easy to build a boat as it was then and now. That's why most countries try not to send troops overseas if they can afford it. But you, who were savages, came to Korea, an advanced country in the 4th and 5th century, conquered the southern part of Korean peninsula in an instant and ruled it as a colony for about 200 years. Bullshit. What were she riding on? Train, airplane, submarine, cruise ship, hang glider? What? Did they swim across? Why don't you say they just came across the cloud? But why is there not a single line of such a story in our history and the Chinese history? Because you guys made it up. Jingu is the main character of the manga. The Jingu itself smells strongly of being person created by the later generations. I am novelist. Don't think you are fooling me. 삼국사기, 신라본기, 벌휴이사건, 10th year in the June AD 193. When the famine broke out in Japan, the number of Japanese who came to Silla to beg reached 1,000. Is this possible? First check if there is a record this in Nihon Shoki, isn't it? And in AD 193, as many as 1,000 Japanese beggars could take a boat from the Japanese island and come to Silla to beg. Because Silla didn't know their true identity and they just called them Weno. Weno means something disgusting. From this point of view, we come to the conclusion that the Wei is epitaph of in the epitaph of the King Gwanggaeto the Great is Yeongsan River Wei, not Yamato Wei. How difficult is it to send troops overseas? But would they come across the sea often like an annual event? Therefore, Queen Jingu's theory of Samhan Jeongbulron is 100% fake. You guys should know that listening to my lecture is an honor. All the mysterious ancient history are solved, sad on one hand and cool on the other, right? In Japan, there are countless geographical names of Gaya, Goguryeo, Kudara, and Silla, as well as hidden Korean surnames. But tell me why there is no Japanese place named in Korea. If they are governed by southern part of Korean peninsula for 200 years, shouldn't there be a record in chronicles of history and of three kingdoms or ruin. In modern times, when Japanese imperialism deprived the nation of our sovereignty for 36 years, the name of Wagwan, which was entered, still exists. We don't hide it. The history of shame is also history. But why are there no traces of 200 years rule? Have you heard of Shinchan Seongshirok, the compiled in 815? This is the list of nobles at that time, especially Asuka period. 1/3 of them are Koreans. If you include people who have changed their surname in the Japanese style, 2/3 should be considered Koreans. If you include commoners who are not nobles, you Yayoi people, oh my God, isn't it sacred, scary? That's thinking about it. You are Koreans. Surprisingly, the author of Kojiki and the Nihon Shoki is not a Japanese person, but Ammanyo is refugee from Kudara. The origin of Japanese is also Idu character, invented by Seolchong of Silla. You admit that Wang Yin and Ajiki brought the 1,000-character text and analect of Confucius to Japan in 4th and 5th centuries and taught the Japanese people learning. The creator of katakana, katakana, and hiragana are also our ancestors. When our ancestors taught Chinese characters in Japan, it was too difficult for them to follow. Katakana was created by removing the part of Chinese characters, and hiragana was derived from cursive writing. Are you pretending not to know or not knowing? No matter how much you look at Japanese representative old poetry collections, Manyoshu and Nanpa Jinga, you still don't understand what they mean. Of course, it is natural that native Japanese, Jomon Japanese do not understand the poetry recited by Yayoi people who crossed over from the Korean peninsula. It is natural that the lower caste do not understand the Vedas recited by the Indian Brahmins, right? Don't even try to know it. It's a big deal. I have 115 extant Gaya place names in Japan, and here are just a few of them. Garanogami, Iki, Nagasaki, Agari, Muragata-gun, Fukuoka, Garachu, Garachu City, Saga, Garaya, Goyu County, Miyazaki, Garaiye, Kiguchi, Kumamoto, Anado, Southern Yamaguchi Prefecture, Anada, Kawagami, Okayama, Arai, Kago-gun, Hyogo, Ara, Nishinara, Osaka, Aragawa, Nagagun, Wakayama, Karasaki, Naga, Shimane, Gaya, Saihoku, Tottori, Araki, Hakui, Ishikawa. Here are some of the Gaya surnames listed on the Shinchan Seongshirok, Shinsenshojiroku, Michida, Datara, Araya, Ochi, Garahito, Garahitobe, Arato, Imana, Ono, Ogara. As you can see, ancient Japanese history could not have been established without the help of our ancestors. It's just a dark age. However, instead of being grateful, you repay the favor with an enemy. Can you still talk about humanism? What's the point of winning a Nobel Prize? You have to be human first. Do you think that our ancestors helped Japan only in ancient history? Do you know that the main character who caused Meiji Restoration were pure Japanese? I'm sorry, but they are Koreans. From the early and the mid-early period who came from Korean Peninsula. Where is their base? The Choshu domain, the Satsuma domain, and Dosa domain, and the Hijen domain, right? All the shrines over there are looking at Korean Peninsula. That's proof that they are Koreans. In other words, without the Korean people, the Meiji Restoration would not have appeared in history. is the same as a clan village of Korean people. In particular, it's a place where the Gaya line and the Kudara line have settled and lived since long ago. Do you think Taisei Hokan is a creature of history that was born by chance? And you start the Pacific War and drive countless people to death. Yet you pretend to be a pacifist like war victim. Well, since you people are naturally good at acting, wouldn't it be easier than eating a piece of cake? You can fool a lot of people temporarily, but you can't fool them forever. That's the word. There is a saying called 天王会会疏而不漏. In other words, there is a net in the sky that punishes the wicked, and it is difficult to see from afar. But when the time corner comes, the net will surely overtake the wicked, and the wicked will never escape from the net. A word from Lao Tzu. Please think carefully and reflect. Finally, I love Japan and the Japanese people. The Japanese archipelago is our land. Today, Japanese are Koreans who crossed over first. In Japan, when you see people quarreling and fighting each other whenever they meet at the drinking party or a dinner party, don't you often say, Silla people and Kudara people met again? 主斗让斗气，斗在腹中期，本是同根生，相见何太急。